No, I haven't forgotten my YouTube password. There's lots of reasons that I haven't put anything up yet this year, but finally I have filmed a video that I think is worth putting up. This isn't the full video, this is just one climb from a great ride me and my dad did. But this climb was so bonkers, and I filmed the whole thing. I thought I better show you. So this is a Rowen to the Youth Hostel Association climb. That preview makes it look, I guess, like most climbs I would do in the Clwyds. Nice and red on Velo Viewer, nice and steep. This is not your typical Welsh climb, it's not your typical anywhere climb, and you'll see as we go on quite how ridiculous this climb is. I'd never done it before, despite it being kinda, you know, on my turf, my secondary turf, the Conwy Valley. And every time I'd do a video or a ride saying, wow, this is really hard, like, oh, the Colid, it was really hard, or Melanocoid, someone, typically some old boy from around here, would go, oh, that's nothing, you haven't done the Rowen climb. And I'd always go, yeah, because no matter what climb you do on Earth, no matter what climb you do, someone will tell you there's a harder one, and you haven't done that. So I sort of always write it off a little bit, but it's been on my list for a while for exactly that reason. So on this ride, I told my dad I was saving my legs a little bit for that. And you can see it sort of starts getting steep, but I'm not putting much power down at this point. On purpose, I'm just trying to save a little bit. And you will get a forward-facing camera with stats when I remember to turn it on. There's me just checking my rear camera is on. And this is where the climb gets proper. We've just passed a sign that said warning, 25%. Here's my statistics. So sort of around the 300 watt mark, that is me being conservative, knowing that the worst is yet to come. I've done this on Melanocoid before, where you hit the beginnings so hard that when you really need the power, you're into your reserves already. But as we were going up here, you won't be able to hear it, but I was saying to my dad, like, it is tough, you know, it's hard going. I'm doing a decent power just to keep moving, and look at my cadence. I'm in my smallest gear, and I am turning 50 RPM. But that is just to sort of save my legs a little bit. Looking at it and seeing 5 kilometers an hour here is alarming me, actually. I hadn't realised I was going quite that slowly. But I do think a grade of around 15-16% for this part makes sense. I think that sounds consistent with what I was experiencing, and then on the corners you're looking at 20 to 25%. Now we throw those numbers around quite casually on this channel, but normally when you see a climb that says 25%, what we mean is it peaks out at 25%. What makes this climb special is it's really like 100-150 metres at a time of 25%, and I promise you in England most climbs aren't like that. Even Bushcombe Lane, that I think is quite fierce, it peaks at 30%, but you're really not holding over 20% for big long sustained periods. It's not like this. Now I had a lot of fatigue in my legs as I was doing this climb, which makes it hard to know how hard the climb is versus I was just doing it while tired. And of course, you know, I'll make a full video about why I had the fatigue in my legs. I don't know who I'm kidding, no one watches this YouTube channel that doesn't follow me on Strava, so I know that you already know why I had that fatigue in my legs, but I play a little bit coy for some clickbait anyway. I'm quite happy that I'm sustaining 330 to 350 for important blocks here, and I'm not sure I believe it's getting quite to 30%, but it's really, really steep. And then I got to this crest, and bearing in mind that there were too many climbs on this ride, I did not have the segment starred. I just thought, was that it? All these old boys have been telling me this is the hardest climb in the entire world. There's nothing like it anywhere else on Earth. And I'm cruising down. So I'm freewheeling, going, well, that was easy, and you know, we got a few climbs left to go, so that's nice. Oh, as you come forwards here, the road goes uphill again. Oh shit, okay, well, my heart rate's come down to 162, so that's good news. Maybe I'll have a little bit left in the tank, and oh my Jesus Christ. Yeah, okay, I was completely wrong. I am nowhere near done yet. There's bumps on the road, which doesn't help. You get that on Whinging and some other climbs around here, but Jesus Christ, does this look steep. There's something funny when you're riding roads that you can see a climb of 10% and think it looks steep. You see a climb of 20% and it still looks quite steep. But there's something mind-bending when you see a 30% climb. Even though, obviously, it's much more forward than it is up, that's what 30% means, it looks vertical. And here you go, my Garmin doesn't know what to do with it. This isn't 45%, but my Garmin just can't cope with the gradient, so it's reading absurdly high. From here, for the next minute or so, I was on the verge of falling off my bike. Every pedal stroke, you had to engage your core so truly that you can balance the bike as you're going. And it means that you have to be aware of where each of your feet are, because your front wheel is at such an angle that you will kick it. I was terrified, and I mean terrified, to the point that I'm having no fun while doing this. Normally this is my idea of fun, right? But I am absolutely just coursing with adrenaline, thinking, you fall off, you're rolling all the way back down this hill. It's horrendous. Now, the lighting isn't very favourable for you seeing my dad to get a feel of how vertical it is. But it's absurd, it is vertical. And bearing in mind that here, I'm 6 minutes into this climb, so it's not like I'm fresh. I'm also 100 miles into a ride that is exclusively climbs. My heart rate is 180, I have nowhere to go from here. I'm not convinced that my power should have dropped there to 250, 260. I don't believe I can get up this climb at that power, but maybe that is all I had and me taking a break. It's really miserable, but I chilled out a little bit here because I was looking at that wall, and I'm no longer thinking about getting up this hill. I'm thinking, if I fall off, I've got something to balance on so I don't roll back down. So I was happy with my escape route. Yeah, I think my metrics are a little bit out. On a ride this long, Garmin Verb only allows you to adjust your metrics in 1 minute steps, which is an enormous amount, of course, when we're watching in real time. If you notice, the gradient on my Garmin hasn't gone below 30% for this whole bit. Now, the average gradient of this climb, I think, was only 18%, including all the flat bits at the bottom. So I'm not sure it can be 30% for this long, but what I do know is I've never really ridden anything quite like it. You can see that my dad's managed to get the motor back in gear here, and he's back on my wheel. And at this point, there was no doubt that I was completing it, but please believe me when I say every pedal stroke was everything I had. I left some of my soul behind on this hill. I am not the same person that I was at the bottom of it. I've never had an experience quite like riding this, and I haven't explained it well enough in this voiceover. But there you go, there's my power. You can see me dip as I cruise over, and inexplicably I got 12th place, so I'm buzzing. I wanted to quickly film this after that climb, so you get an honest view of what it's like. I don't want to get home, and for my ego to kick in, and for me to want to go. It was alright, actually, you know, it wasn't that bad. I was convinced that I was falling off. I was looking for escape routes all the way up, like, oh, if I fall that way, it might be okay. And luckily, there was just that voice that kept going, but you don't need to fall. But I nearly spun out twice. I nearly lost control of the bars. I don't know what you think, Dad. I think that's as much a bike handling challenge as anything.
Yeah, you've got to get your balance right.
Yeah.
And that's hard while you're trying to get maximum power as well.
Yeah. And your blood oxygen level is
making
low.
Your brain go completely fuzzy.
Yeah.
That's the hardest we've done today, and possibly ever.
Yeah. So I said this not on camera to my dad, but that's the hardest climb I've ever done, which doesn't mean the road is the hardest climb there's ever been that I've cycled up. It just means with everything in my legs and how deep I had to go, I just can't think of another time I've just gone that deep. Right. I'm walking down some of that, I'm shitting myself, honestly. Almost literally. Yeah, we're going down to the pub. Too much information there. You see those white houses down there? That's Rowen, where we started. That's less than a kilometre away. And the angle doesn't... I hate when I say the camera doesn't do it justice, but it really doesn't. It's absurd. It's like we're at the top of a cliff. Right, down we go. Ice cold Coca-Cola, please.